We started out in what is now today Bank First Tower. It was Liberty Tower at the time. And then we went across the street to what then was Mid-America Tower. We later named it Devon when we filled it up. And it was now occupied by Continental. And at that time, because of our growth, we not filled up we had all that we could get of Mid-America Tower, and we had floors scattered all over downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, we had people, every building in downtown almost. We were in 6 different buildings and scattered around, highly inefficient. I think people spent half their time walking around downtown going from one building to the other. We kept saying, we have to build a new building. It's the only way. And I kept putting it off because that's going to take a lot of time and effort. And there was always another opportunity in the oil and gas business that was much more interesting.
Yeah. So on to that point then, with the growth of Oklahoma City, and you mentioned earlier, you always get asked, like, did you have a vision and not for the business? But did you have a vision for the growth of Oklahoma City and how you could impact that?
Evolving. It really, when we started thinking about where we would build a building, there were a lot of people who had suburban land they wanted us to build on. And I realized that if we took our several thousand employees out of downtown, it would have a significant negative impact. Those people would not be banking there. They would not be buying their clothes there. They would not be having lunch and breakfast and dinner there. They would not be spending money downtown, and that would have a negative impact. I also, as I had traveled around being CEO of a public company, I've never found a dynamic city that does not have a dynamic downtown. It doesn't work that way. Maybe there's one somewhere, but I haven't seen it. So I thought, and I saw some of the companies in Houston where their workforce was isolated out on the suburbs and surrounded by a barbed wire fence, and that's not very welcoming. So we decided early on we wanted a building in the middle of downtown.
Yeah. When do you start that process then? When do you think, okay, we're going to do this, let's figure out, and because it's a mighty decision to make, right? And it's not an easy process.
We started interviewing architects.
Okay.
And quickly realized there are only there are only less than 10 architectural firms that really build high-rise buildings. And we know just because of the sheer math, we have enough employees that it's got to be a building of some size to house our employees. And I was not eager to jump into this, but as I would travel, so I'm going to Chicago, I'd ask some architectural firm, have you built anything in Chicago? Tell me where it is, and I'll take an extra day. And while I'm up there on Devon business, oil and gas work, meeting with investors, I'll stop by and look at the building. And sometimes they would join me or have a colleague of theirs join me, and we'd look at various buildings and see what worked and what didn't work. And I didn't have the trained eye. You could walk in some buildings and say, this really doesn't feel good. And they'd say, well, why doesn't it feel good? I don't know. It just does feel kind of cold and sterile. And would learn another type of building works better. So it was very much of a learning experience over a year or so as I kicked the can down the road, trying to avoid it.
Yeah. But you settle on John Pickard as the architect, and that process just starts, and you think,
I mean, after there were some of the larger architectural firms that very much had the attitude, we're building these buildings in Shanghai and in Dubai, and where's yours, Oklahoma City? Yeah, maybe we can fit you in. That had what I viewed as a rather snotty attitude.
Right.
And I scratched them off my list. They go do what they want to do, but if they're not going to have interest in it, then I want someone who does.
Yeah.
And sort of narrowed it down. And there were several that we could have chosen and been happy with.
Sure.
But we chose Pickard Chiltern and never had a regret.
So when you start seeing the models, you start seeing the plans, and you see the scale of this tower that you're going to build, and it's got your name on it in Oklahoma City, what are you feeling at that time? How are these conversations going? And for you personally, from a city that you've grown up in, to have a building that is basically the statement piece to this city, what are those conversations like, and how is that process?
I never focused on the size that much, the height. We wanted a building that was not just another square building with a flat roof. I mean, there are hundreds, thousands of those. You want something that was beautiful. And fortunately, we were doing this at a time when there was a serious recession in building. In fact, when we started our tower, we were the only high-rise in the country coming out of the ground, which said we had all the kinds of buying power in buying glass windows and furniture, because all of those companies were desperate for work. And we were the only live wire in the country that was out getting jobs. So we had the opportunity to really build a high-class building with some architectural interest without busting the budget.
How are you with heights? Are you up there with the architects during the phases, walking through in your hard hat, or are you staying on the ground as far away from it as possible?
Well, neither. I have been up there. But by that time, it is the design work is the where you look at different models and have fun with different models. And see what works. You don't want something that is outlandish and is not efficient. And I remember it was easy for me to tell the architects what I didn't want. And I've been in buildings where they're big buildings and they have a long hallway that extends in a straight line forever. And it feels not unlike a prison.
It feels like a hotel.
It feels like a hotel. There's no interest in that at all. So it's, we got to do something. Want light in everywhere. There are corners of our building that don't have executive offices that have windows that everybody can see. Looked at corporate cafeterias, corporate dining rooms, generally down in the basement. No one wants that. So we said we wanted a dining facility for our employees that is open to the public. We don't want to be a standoffish, you can't come in here attitude. Doors on all four sides, open to the public. Dining facility open to the public with lots of glass.
What is the other thing too? What is that when you walk into the building and you stand on that circle? I forget the name of it, and you speak and you hear all those echoes back.
Oh, the rotunda?
It's the greatest thing ever. That just naturally, or did you think I want that in my building?
No, that came to solve a problem.
Okay.
We had the tower. There are a variety of facilities that are not appropriate in a tower that need more space. The computers need more space. The dining facility needs more space. A big room to do gas marketing needs a wider footprint on the floor. And so we were going to build another building and then a building for security and personnel. So we really have three buildings. One building that our garden wing is really the size of it used to be the McGee building, but it's on his ground, so it gets no respect at all. So we needed to figure out a way to connect these buildings, but still maintain security. And the rotunda sort of serves that as an example. It is open to the public, and you think it's a public space, but there's walkways on the second and third and fourth floors that connect all of our various buildings. So people can walk through that and energize that during the day without going in and out of security all the time.
The first time, me being a golfer, the first time I saw it finished, the first thought I had was I would love to hit a golf ball off the top. Like just stand there, not going out to the park, just, put it, just me being a golfer and an immature man would think that I would love to hit a golf ball off the top of that. And maybe one day I will, who knows? But obviously recently we had some guy climbing it. I mean, that's mad. I know he's a professional, but that's nuts. What are you like watching this on the news thinking, I wouldn't climb that if I had full harnesses and a million safety gear. Like, that was crazy.
Incredulous.
Mad, right?
Total
Yeah.
But if you watch him, he was calm.
Yeah, really calm.
You know, a wiry guy that is very agile, and he just scampered up that thing.
I couldn't believe it.
No.
I was, and you know, I obviously get why he did it. He's trying to raise awareness, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, obviously a professional, and you know, professional. Clearly, he does this a lot. So I couldn't believe it. And the other thing you mentioned too, which I didn't think of until now, is security. Obviously, this is especially after 9/11 and all the other stuff that goes on. And you know, as much of an impact I think as the Air Force Base in Oklahoma has on the center of this country. People don't really think about security that often, but when you put a building at that scale and a statement piece in the middle of this country, that's probably one of the top priorities is security as well.
Security is.
Yeah.
And they're quiet and unobtrusive, but there's security features all over that. Mm-hmm. Of course, the main reason you build a building is to house your employees.
Yeah.
And it's not to win awards or to make statements. It's a recruiting tool. And if you're graduating from college and have a choice in working in a nice building in a nice environment or working in a dull building, all things being equal, that building can make a difference. In fact, after we built that, we went for almost a year and a half where everyone we made an offer to who had come to the building decided to accept our offer.
Yeah, it's a quite good sell when you show them their office view, right? Which at the time was nothing. Now it's incredible because you have the park and everything. At the time, it was just parking lots and the river,
right? Which
still serves as it's a nicer view than most people.
And to me, the greatest success of that building was one Saturday after we'd moved everyone in. Perfectly beautiful day, a good day to go play golf or garden or watch football game or do whatever you do on a beautiful Saturday. We had a lot of employees. I was coming downtown to catch up on some work Saturday morning, and there were lots of employees down there who would come down on a perfectly nice Saturday to show their parents, to show their spouse, little kids in tow, grandmother and granddad in tow, in a wheelchair, showing them where they got to work. That says it all.
Yeah, that means a lot, doesn't it? To see people coming on their day off to show their parents, hey, I work at that building right there.
To take your day off, to get your whole family to come downtown to show you where I work.
Yeah.
That says the building's a success. And that's who you ultimately build it for.
Right.
Mainly.
Yeah. Yeah, because as a business, it works efficiently when everyone's in the same building. And if you got to go to another floor, you jump in the elevator and off you go. You don't have to walk 2 miles across town.
Right. Because we've done that.
In the middle of Oklahoma winter, which is freezing.
Or heat. Or wind.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Yeah. It's awesome. And I'm sure, every time you probably see a photo of it, right? Or you see the sunset reflecting off it. Or we're at a Thunder game and you look out and it says Thunder Up down the side of the building. Like, so many little things that...
Well, if you had 2 towers, we debated having, shopping the building, having 2 towers.
Yeah.
You have inefficiencies there.
Right.
Because you have to go down, cross over, come back up, in and out of security. There are lots of 2 buildings of the same square footage cost more than 1 building.